The hijab often laces the headlines as an oppressive piece of cloth that is used to control Muslim women. And due to this, various anti-hijab campaigns are launched to liberalize these so-called victims from the dictatorial men in their lives, husbands, brothers, fathers, and even the state. Apparently, these damsels need help to find their place within society and, well, just be normal. The media loves to harp on about how dehumanizing the Muslim women's dress code is. In some countries, it may be the social convention to cover after the age of puberty, but forcing the hijab onto a Muslim woman doesn't exist in Islam. But while there is so much focus on this aspect of the wearing of this piece of cloth, there is the story from the other side, Muslim women struggling with the hijab, not due to the oppression of having to wear it, but due to the pressure to remove it. And this is not pressure from some random anti-hijab campaign launched by a non-Muslim state, but ironically, pressure from a Muslim woman's family itself, her Muslim family. Sanaa was raised in a mildly practicing Muslim family, where pork was haram, but music and inappropriate entertainment were the norm. Her father observed most of the daily prayers, and her parents fasted during Ramadan. But they would also attend mixed-gender parties, including parties of different religious festivities that included rituals, and enjoy nights out with friends who happily drank alcohol in front of the children. Islam seemed very confusing for Sanaa, but she went along with their ways, genuinely believing this was what Islam was about. But then Sanaa went to college, breaking out of her cultural mold. She began to meet other Muslims and discovered more about Islam through some good friends. While she learned to be observant of all 5 prayers instead of just a few, she also donned the hijab. Her family was shocked. "My dad told me repeatedly that I did not have to wear that, to take it off." He kept questioning who had made her do that and who was so viciously influencing her. But it wasn't just her dad who had such an adverse reaction to the piece of cloth. Her mother would also yell, "Good riddance," when her hijab flapped violently in the wind, threatening to unravel. Her siblings even began to call her an Islamic terrorist in jest, labeling her as weird, not wanting to stand close to her when out in public. They were, after all, the modern Muslim family, who did not need Islamic clothing to define them. While Sanaa made it clear that the hijab was an important part of obligatory worship for Muslim women, her family was not having any of it. They were certain that she had been brainwashed by a Muslim boyfriend to cover. Oh, the irony, she thought. Unfortunately, animosity plagued extended relatives as well. "Why did you go and do that?" they would ask her. Sanaa was continuously harassed about her hijab during family gatherings and was warned that she would never find a husband who would want to marry her. And they still wanted to know the name of the Muslim boyfriend who had made her cover. She laughs about it many years later, but as a teenager, it was a very difficult phase for her. "I kept my hijab on Allah. Praise be to Allah." It is so ironic that the media loves to lambaste the Muslim man for forcing the hijab upon female relatives. But there are those of us who struggle to keep it on due to the Muslim men in our lives. Mulling over these hijab stories, my thoughts turn to my daughter, who decided to put on her hijab at the tender age of 6, much to our surprise. At that time, she said she had wanted to look like me. But a good few years later, we have had the conversation about hijab being an important form of ibadah, and she understands better now. But in light of the sister stories above, I've had the grim conversation with her that not everyone will be appreciative and celebrative of her head covering. And this would include other Muslims around her, possibly including future family members. This is all a lot to digest for a young girl, but it's the reality that some Muslims face when trying to practice their deen. I always pray that it does not surface in the form of oppression, whether by being forced to wear or remove it, by non-Muslim and Muslims alike.